Hey everyone, welcome back to the ERPodcast. I'm Naz and I'm here with Exotic. Today we're going to be talking about a couple different topics. The CryEngine 5, what makes a great game, and what games you keep coming back to just can't put down.
What makes a great game, Naz?
I think it could be a multitude of different things. It depends on the person. I think we can both agree that Skyrim is a great game, and I know a lot of our gaming group and the people we game with would agree with that. But then there's some people that oh, Skyrim's cool, but I only play multiplayer, or Skyrim was fun for 10 hours, but then I didn't have anything to do. So
Sure.
I think it's all personal opinion. I mean, what do you think? I have my favorites, and of course you have yours. I think it'd be a huge multitude, from the nitpick of like, oh, it runs at 60 frames and the graphics are awesome, to when the first time I played Final Fantasy IX and was like, holy shit, I love this game.
I feel like I feel being a gamer gets clicky, if that makes sense. Just like high school, where you've got your nerds, your jocks, blah blah blah. I feel like gaming does too. And perfect example of this is I was fresh out of high school when Mass Effect came out, and I played it. I was super excited for it when I watched the announcements. Pre-ordered it, everything. Went over, picked up my copy. I remember who I was with. Everybody was super excited. I was the only one with a 360, so everybody was going to watch us. And put it in, played it for about 30 minutes, and shut it off, saying, "This is a piece of shit."
Really?
And
Mass
everybody
Effect series is some of my
no, no,
favorite stuff.
I know. There's more. um, so all these kids, agreed with me. They're like, "Yeah, this game is boring as shit," and I was like, "Yeah, it's really stupid. I don't like it." What was it? 7 years later, something like that, when I started hanging out with you again. That was when you were like, "Have you ever played the Mass Effect series?" And I was like, "Yeah, I hated it." And you're like, "How did you hate it?" I was like, "It was just boring to me. It couldn't stand it." And you're like, "Here, just here's the whole." And I think 1 and 2 had come out, and 3 was on the verge of coming out.
Right.
And you're like, "Here, just play it. Like, it's an incredible game." And I was like, "All right, fine." So I sat down all by my lonesome and stuffed burgers in my face and played. And I cracked out on that game. I think I was playing that game for like 3 weeks straight. Like, just all day long, all night long. Like, I didn't get very much sleep, and absolutely loved it. So I think, like,
So was it just the recommendation from another, from me, from another friend, from another gamer, come and be like, hey, actually, this game is fucking sick. You gotta give it a chance. Like, was that what made it into one of your favorites, or was it
I,
because you actually had the time to sit down and and really play it, where you didn't have a bunch of yahoos behind you just wanting to see the next whatever?
that's what I mean. Like, that game. Most gamers, except for number 3, because of what happened in number 3, most gamers will say that's an excellent game. But my group of friends did not like that game when it came out, and they ended up coming around to it. They ended up playing, I think, the second one, and that got them into like, okay, what happened in the first?
Right.
But all my friends were like, "Oh, that sucks ass," so I automatically thought it sucked ass. So it's
Right.
it's hard to say what makes a great game, because there's a lot of games I loved that I look back on now and have played recently that I'm like, "God, this sucks." Resident Evil is one of those games. The first Resident Evil, I loved Resident Evil. I thought it was awesome, and I was a kid when it came out. I think I was maybe 12, and it had blood, guts, zombies, whatever. And I thought it was the greatest game ever. I went back to it, and this could kind of fall into the realm of like games just not aging well. But I went back to it, and I even bought the PS4 remastered HD Super Supreme Edition.
Oh yeah, I remember playing that one with you.
And it,
on the
it drove
PlayStation.
us nuts. The repetitive footsteps, the like just slow
the
movement,
backtracking
the
made me
controls
wanna
were
kill
not
myself.
done. The backtracking, like, and that's a game that has gotten multiple awards. At least the original 3 got awards upon awards for being one of the greatest horror genres to come out.
Right.
And
I
it
still
was
think
terrible.
it holds a ton of weight. Resident Evils are still hugely popular.
Right.
The last one I played was the Revelations 2, I think is what it is. And I played the first. That one came out in like chapters or whatever. And I played the first part. Was like, oh yeah, this is pretty. This is pretty fun. But I have no interest. No desire to use my gaming time to get the second.
To do
story or
right.
Even though it's a huge franchise, Resident Evil's been around forever, and you're right, it is very. It's heavily awarded, especially the first couple, especially 4. I think
4 got
Resident
the
Evil 4,
most awards.
Biohazard 4, depending on where you live, that's got the most awards. But I get what you're saying. Like you oh, it's my favorite. I love this game. I can't believe it.
Sure.
And you go back and play it, and you're like, wow, this thing is a pile of shit. And I can agree with that a little bit to some of the stuff, but I'm looking at it kind of on a different end. Is you've got, and we were just talking about this the other night when we were playing Rainbow. We were talking about Witcher 3.
Oh,
I played the first Witcher, loved it. Very complex, a little bit complex for my liking when the alchemy and all that, but loved it.
Sure.
Got
Boobs,
number 2,
tits, that kind of stuff.
loved it even more. Well, yeah, nudity in games doesn't do anything for me, but I guess it does. It adds to the realism.
Exactly. There you go.
But so anyway, 1 and 2, loved them, awesome. Could not wait for number 3 to come out. As we were talking about the other night, it's the most awarded game in history now, I believe.
Oh, sure.
And which to
by
anyone,
far.
even someone like my dad who doesn't play video games and doesn't give a shit about video games, would see that and go, well, that's probably a good game.
Right, sure.
I played that game for like 2 hours and was like, oh man, it looks pretty. Oh, my computer can run it, awesome. And then uninstalled it.
See?
Haven't touched it.
It's a problem of my. Maybe it's just a problem I have. I don't know. I find myself finding games that I originally thought were the greatest game and deserving of their awards to seem lackluster. I also am probably the only person on the planet that hated Resident Evil 4. I did not like it. I did not like the shooting. I did not like this. I didn't like it. And I haven't really liked them since then, to be honest.
Now, you say that, but I thought I remember talking to you about, I don't remember who you played it with, but you played RE5 co-op with one of our friends, and you said that was actually quite a good experience.
There was a lot of alcohol involved.
Right.
We were drinking pretty heavily. No, I mean, I had fun, but I have fun with co-op games. I mean, we played Kane Lynch, and that game is
not awesome.
And I feel like we had a lot of fun with it.
I didn't think that was a bad game. It just got repetitive. But yeah, it was a lot of fun playing the co-op.
I feel like shooters in general just get repetitive, especially their single-player campaigns. Unless they're telling a story. And Kane Lynch told a really good story. That's what kept us going through. But as far as the actual game, it was pretty repetitive from the get-go. But, I felt the same. I felt that repetitiveness with Max Payne 3, and I love the Max Payne series. And I thought the third story was awesome.
I thought the third edition, or the third game, was the least repetitive out of them. Because I remember playing Max Payne 2 on PS2, and it was once you got over the bullet time, and then him being basically a giant piece of shit.
Sure.
Then it was like, oh well, okay, I'm just playing a pretty generic third-person shooter. But what gave it its credit was it was an anti-hero game. Max is a piece of shit. He's a drunk. He's not some last action hero thing.
To be fair, his wife and child got killed in front of him. But
I know. I'm still saying though he's the anti-hero. But I thought the third one was the least repetitive. I really liked that game a lot. I thought it was really fun. So I mean, you're talking about what makes a great game, and like I said earlier, we do have our favorites. I know yours and we have a couple favorites that are the same. I mean, I love Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. That's my favorite Zelda, and I know you don't care for the Zelda series. So, what are the top 3? What makes your list for what makes a great game? Like, what are you looking at?
I don't really have a list. I really don't. I play a game, and if I got a little nerd boner, then that was good for me, and that I feel uh, uh, when Path of Neo, not Enter the Matrix, but Path of Neo released, which most people absolutely hated. I thought that game
Enter the Matrix was way better.
Was cool as fuck. I thought the Path of Neo was awesome. You get to play Neo and like do. I thought it was great, and most people and the reviews just shat on it and were like, "This game is terrible," and I thought it was great. Maybe I just have bad taste in games. I don't know. I was thinking about it because
I wouldn't
every
say that
year you have awards going
out.
out.
I think people who have bad taste in games are people who say, "I'm a gamer," and they play fucking Angry Birds.
True.
No,
I mean,
you have
Angry Birds is incredible,
you don't play
but
video games.
It's super in depth. I mean,
just on a side note, Path of Neo got a 54 out of 100 on Metacritic. Just saying.
See, and that website, I have issues with. I have issues with that website, but that's a story for another day.
That's for another. I wouldn't say you have bad taste though. I'm giving shit for people who like Angry Birds, and I don't have anything against Angry Birds, but if that's your sole game, yeah, well, get the fuck out. I wouldn't say you have bad taste because I know you like good games. You like Final Fantasy VII, which is one of the most renowned RPGs in the world. Mm-hmm. We both have Final Fantasy tattoos on us of that game, of those characters in that series and all that stuff. So I wouldn't say you have bad taste or anything. Everyone's taste is evolved and they like different stuff. Just like we've got a couple friends. They only, like my brother-in-law, he basically only plays online games.
Correct.
Single player does not interest him. This cool game came out. He might boot it up for like an hour, but he doesn't even purchase them, and that's fine. But
right.
his great game is going to be Dota or League of Legends or Path of Exile, stuff like that are purely multiplayer. To where yours and mine are going to be. Well, mine is, Link to the Past, Final Fantasy VII, Mass Effect series, Metal Gear Solid. None of those are multiplayer. And, one of my favorite games I have a tattoo of it as well is World of Warcraft, and that's only multiplayer. So don't discredit yourself if you have bad taste, but what was that?
I said I hate that game.
Oh, I know, you hate World of Warcraft,
And I've tried. No one shit on me. I've tried. I can't get into it. It's a personal problem with me. It's nothing wrong with the game. I have hang-ups. Yeah, see, that's the thing. I saw a bunch of awards going out on certain things, and it's like, play this game, this is the game of the month, or this is the blah, 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 blah. And I just thought that, I wonder if it's like a voting thing where they're just seeing a bunch of people talking about this, so there's got to be like, it's got to be incredible. You know what I mean? Like, if so many people are talking about it, we must give it an award because so many people like it.
I would hate to agree, but I'm probably gonna have to. And this game has so much hype and it's gonna be so awesome. And there's games getting awards before they're even fucking released.
Oh, sure.
It's like, Mass Effect 7 has Game of the Year.
Now they have
in 2020, so
now they have Best of E3. It's like, well, wait a minute. Half these games that are announced don't come out till fucking 2017, and they're already getting awards. Hold on.
I don't mind the Best of E3 award since we go to E3, and I can understand it. And I actually did look into how that is awarded, and it has to, in order to qualify for an E3, a Best of E3 award, which does differ from Best in Show.
Right.
Keep that in mind.
Sure.
To qualify for Best of E3, it has to have a public, playable demo or level or whatever. Public meaning people like us that can go into the show, not general public, but showgoers. So, we were there last year, and they announced the reboot of Final Fantasy VII. Okay.
Yeah.
That does not qualify because it was only a video where there's no playability.
Yeah,
those qualify for Best in Show. So, having
there's actual playable, I forgot what it's called, but there's an actual like critique for it, for like what
there's
what
an actual like structure of what they go by for the playable stuff. Now that kind of ties into what we talked about a couple casts ago about the paid betas and the that type of shit, where an entire game, if not an entire series is being judged by a 30-minute playable demo at E3. Is that fair? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know.
Well, not
and
really.
the reason I say that, I remember the first year. I don't know if you went with us, but it was when the first or second year Borderlands 2 was coming out. Were you there for that one?
I was there for Borderlands 2.
Right. Okay. So Borderlands 2 was coming out. That was the talk of the show. Huge thing. Gearbox shit everywhere. And I remember standing in line.
4 fucking hours.
Yeah, and then playing Borderlands and going, oh man, this game is going to be the titties. I cannot wait to play this. I love the first one. Holy shit, holy shit, holy shit, holy shit. And I don't like Borderlands 2 at all. I will play it to play co-op with my friends because that's fun. Right. But I'm not going to play the single player. So that just kind of goes to show, is like, well, that probably won awards that year in E3.
Sure.
But I don't like it necessarily that much. So is it fair to be awarding games for that? I don't know.
So if there's so many critiques, we'll pull it back from that. What is a game that keeps you going? Like what is a game that you're like, shit, I'm bored, I got my thumb up my ass, I'm gonna play so and so. Like, what is a game that keeps you coming back?
I think for me it's a couple, and they're for different reasons. The first one would be Final Fantasy series, and that's going to be for the nostalgic reasons.
Right.
Because like I played Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 9 when I was middle school age.
Right.
You know, high school-ish,
starting
high school, I guess, somewhere in there. Yeah. So that's when I was playing those, and so that's a nostalgic thing for me. I can boot up Final Fantasy 9 and be like, fuck yeah, I remember all this. This is going to be great. And I'll play it for a couple days, no big deal. My favorite genre is going to be the stealth action stuff. So, like I have been talking to you, I wanted to get back and finish Thief, finally.
Yes.
You know, and then my Skyrim character is a stealth action little sneaky bastard. You know, that's
sure.
So that. But the game that all time I think will bring me back is WoW.
Really? WoW's the end all be all, huh?
I think that could, you know, if I just didn't have anything I felt like playing, it would be, you know, it'd be WoW, and that's for multiple reasons, and it kind of ties in with, you know, the nostalgic and stuff. I've done all, see, and this is why I wish you would play it with me sometime, is because I've done all the facets of it. I've done playing casually, where you just level up and run around and do shit, and then the raiding, and then progression raiding, and all that, and that was some of the doing progression raiding in ICC. Wrath of the Lich King expansion was some of the best times I've ever had gaming. Right. And like I remember my apartment, which you weren't hanging out at this time, but there was a small ass apartment I had, and there was probably, let me see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to 8 people there with their computers on raid night, packed in my living room, raiding, and that was some of the best time I ever had playing a game ever. So I think, you know, that's what'll bring me back. Nostalgia, probably, for lack of a better word, is probably what'll bring me back to a game more than anything.
So nostalgia is like the power holder.
Yeah. I mean, there's other stuff too. Like, we can both, after this cast, we could both boot up GTA and play it for 5 hours straight.
Oh sure.
No big deal.
I love the story for GTA.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, I can go back
and drive trucks around.
I can go back to the older GTAs. Now I know you don't like them. Well, you like them for their time, like but you just don't want to just because GTA 5 is just a ton better. Yeah. But I can go back to not so much the fourth one. The fourth one I feel was the weakest out of all of them. But definitely Vice City and definitely 3. I'll say.
Okay, but what's bringing you back to them? Like, you're being brought back to GTA. But
GTA,
you know, like, for me, it's like the nostalgia, like that essence that I had when I played with those people. What's bringing you back to it?
GTA was my dirty little secret. That was the game I played when my parents went to bed, or, you know, because I knew, as a sneaky little shit of a kid, I knew how, like, fucked up it was. And now I look back and it's like, oh, that's really subtle, like, cheesy jokes. But back then, that was really extreme.
Oh, sure.
And,
sure.
And so, like, that was a game that I played. It was one of those games where it's like, oh, you guys want to come over to my house? I have GTA 3, and people are like, I remember how I got it. I remember there was this kid in middle school that I for $15 sold it to me behind the library like a drug deal, and
Hey man, I got that GTA. I got
oh,
that
it's her.
GTA.
Because I was like, what's this GTA? Because I was reading, tons of magazines because I didn't have any money. So I was always like, oh yeah, that's cool. Okay, I've played that game. I've read about it. Okay, I've played that game. And I remember this kid was like, I can get you GTA. And I was like, really? I was like, oh. And I like hit it. Like now that I look back, the teachers would have known what the fuck that is. Like, like no one would have cared. But we treated it like it was freaking a porno mag or something. And so it was always like, oh, I have. So nostalgia is a big thing for me because it was always like, oh, I have GTA, and my friends would all come over. We'd sit around the couch late at night when my mom went to bed, and we would just play GTA. And usually it wasn't even playing the game. Like we would get to a certain part in the game where like all islands were opened up, and then we just drive around and run over hookers and all that kind of stuff. And that was pretty much it. And we just had a blast. And so my friend group that I was in for a lot of my life, that GTA was just another thing. When Vice City came out, we all picked up Vice City, and at that time I'd gotten brazen and was just like, Mom, let's play Vice City. And she's like, what's Vice City? And I was like, nothing. Just you
Nothing.
could drive cars around and stuff. And like, little did she know, you
it's a
drive
racing
around
game.
and like, exactly. She just saw cars and she figured it was a racing game, and it totally wasn't.
So, I mean, from what I'm hearing is, and I'm kind of struggling with the word because I don't think nostalgia is the right word, but it's kind of the same situation for you. It's not even necessarily the game itself of GTA that is something that could always bring you back. It's the experience surrounding that specific game, just like it was for me with World of Warcraft. Right?
I remember, how like your parents, my parents do it, pretty much everybody's parents that I've ever met. You know how they're always like, I remember where I was when I listened to Led Zeppelin. I remember where I was when I saw this concert. I remember where I was when I did this. That's my life with video games and anything else that I've done, the E3 trips and stuff. I remember where I was when I heard about it. I remember where I was when I bought it. I remember where I was when I played through it. I remember all those things, and they're a big part of my life. And so I get all emotional. Final Fantasy is a perfect. Final Fantasy VII is a huge thing for me. I was not a popular kid in school, so I had Final Fantasy VII. That was the game I sucked into. So I wouldn't say nostalgia but it brings back good memories. It's like watching a VHS, watching a home movie. Of your birthday party from when you're 5 or stuff like that. Your parents enjoy that. That's why they took them in the first place. And video games for me, that's my memories. I didn't film myself having my birthdays. I played video games on my birthday. This is what I remember. And so those games have such a latch on them that you can look past the fact that they're dated. You could look past the fact that the graphics are bad. You could look past the fact that half that shit is just terrible. Perfect example is like the Pong machine that we had in our store. That Pong machine, we had so many people that were like, 40, 50.
You mean Pac-Man?
Yeah, Pac-Man, sorry. You would come in and they'd be like, oh, you've got Pac-Man? We'd be like, free play. And they'd just run over and start playing Pac-Man because that was their thing when they were a kid. I think that's what keeps me coming back to some of these things. It's just like Skyrim. That's an even newer game, relatively. I keep coming back to Skyrim.
Pac-Man, of course.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, I keep coming back to Skyrim. I absolutely love Skyrim. I think it's a great game. I know where I was for Oblivion. I know where I was when I found out what Elder Scrolls was, and I think those are the games that get me. So GTA, Elder Scrolls, Final Fantasy. Those are the top ones. But
Those are the ones.
I'll play through pretty much anything now that I think about it.
And I feel like there's stuff that we have yet to play. Like, I want to finish Thief. I want to begin playing Witcher 3. The Hitman, I just got it the last week when it came out.
Right.
The new one. I think it's great.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's games coming out that are going to be for us, like that. Like you're gonna remember. Oh, I remember when I played Hitman. That's when right when we were about to leave for Comic Con, which we're doing next week, 2 days from now. So I mean, I think there's games that will be coming out that you will also find great, but I mean, for me personally, my attention span has changed to where when I was in high school or just out of high school, if a game didn't have more than 30 hours in it, I was like, get that shit out of here. What are you talking about? 30 hours? I'm gonna beat that in 2 days.
Sure.
And I still see people on Reddit or even on mainstream PC Gamer, IGN, N4G, whatever, their reviews. Oh, it's only 24 hours long, 25 hours gameplay. Well, okay. Now at the age that we're at, we got to work all the time, and lots of our friends have families now, and just you got shit to do, and it's like, oh, this game's got 20 hours, sweet. Well, that's gonna take me a couple weeks to beat. So
sure.
So I mean, my attention span has changed with games, and I think there's going to be a lot coming out that we are going to associate. We'll be 50 years old and be like, oh yeah, I remember when I played Elder Scrolls 7. I remember what we were doing when that came out.
I'm gonna talk about the Xbox 360 like my fucking family talks about the Nintendo.
Yeah.
Be like, I remember when the Xbox 360. Granddad, we got chips in our face. Don't even fuck around anymore.
We got TVs in our eyeballs now. We don't care about that shit.
We just look at the wall now, Dad.
We just sit. I want those chairs from Wall-E where you just be super fat and you just lay down and they just zoom you around.
See, that's not a good thing.
Those
chairs almost killed humanity.
just to give you a quick thing, though, you're saying, oh, we're going to talk about 360. Excuse me. The 360 released 12 years ago.
05? Oh, God.
Yeah. 11 and a half. Yeah, just to put that in
still in my
perspective.
20s, goddammit. Not old.
Not old. But yeah, talking about going to Comic Con next week, and we are going to be doing that. We're going to fan experience put on by Salt Lake City Comic Con, and I don't know if I told you, Trevor, but the tickets are now sold out, which is cool.
I do remember something about that, but I was under the weather at the time, so it's fine now. I got it now. Yeah, that's gonna be dope. I've never gone to one. I've gone to KomoriCon in Portland, and that was really fun. But I don't know much about anime, and so I was like, I really like Full Metal Alchemist, and people would be like, oh yeah, that's cool. Well, have you heard I can't think of a good anime name, but it'd be like some 40-word sentence, and I'd be like, what the hell is that? And they'd be like, oh, it's like all the rage. You know nothing about it. And it's like, no, I don't. I watch whatever's on frickin' Spike at 4 in the morning.
So they were anime hipsters?
Well, anime just has a hipster culture. It's weird. If you're not down with the with the anime, if you don't know, I called everything subbed when I first started watching anime. I called everything subbed. Purely because I did not give a shit what the word meant. I just knew that subbed meant it would have English in it, but it actually means they're subbed and dubbed. And so
I'm one of those mega casual anime watchers. I barely watch any of it.
See,
I have a couple favorites, but they have to be English dubbed, or I'm not even gonna bother.
Yeah, exactly. And so I was just like, yeah, no, does it have subs? And they'd always be like, yeah, and I'd be like, what? Yeah, and they'd be like, well, you have to watch it in its original format. I'm like, fuck that. Give me, I want English dubs. That's what I want. I want them speaking English. And they'll be like, you're such a casual. And it's like, shut up. You know what?
Such a casual.
I'm trying to enjoy the same thing you enjoy. I'm just trying to enjoy it in my native language. I don't want to put that much work into watching a fucking show. Yeah.
Don't want to have to watch an episode and then go
research
what they were actually talking about.
Exactly.
I think you're going to get a good dose of that at FanX. So they've got some big names going that I'm excited for. Jeremy Renner.
See, I'm a giant comic book nerd, so there's definitely going to be a little chub in my pants.
There you go.
Little comic chub.
Stay walk in front of me, please. But
just don't stop short, and we won't have a problem. You won't have to ask if I got a flashlight.
Next week, and we are going to be bringing some stuff back with us to build a gift basket giveaway. So keep in touch, keep listening with us for that. Check out our Facebook and website, ergaming.net for info on that.
Just in time for Easter.
Just in time. Yeah, we'll even put some little
just
pretty
past
fake grass
Easter.
in it.
When is Easter?
I think Easter is next Sunday.
When is Zombie Jesus is arisen?
I think it's next week. I think it's like a week from right now. Yeah.
Okay.
So we're going to be doing that this week, putting together a giveaway for everyone that you can enter on our Facebook. Definitely check us out on Facebook and Twitter, website ergaming.net. We'll post the podcast every 2 weeks on there. And then we'll be back with you in 2 weeks once we get back.
Yay!